I am Hermes, messenger of the gods. The knowingness of complete sovereignty is fundamental in achieving balance, knowing absolutely that one can govern themselves, knowing that one's inner and thus outer world is the product of this governing. To recognize oneself as a sovereign being is to acknowledge one's own total autonomy. It means that you know you're a free being, not a citizen, not a worker, not a corporate entity, but the beautiful you that is being you to the fullest. If an individual projects a sovereign image upon the mirror of reality, then this reality becomes an internal process of creation, utterly free of external controls and conditions. However, if one surrenders this sovereignty, they are informing the universe of their inability to consciously create, and this sets up the very state which allows the external to take control of the internal. To reword that, we become victims to an energetic enslavement system if we ignore the god or goddess within, the inner spark which is fully capable of producing and sustaining completeness within one's experiences. This energetic enslavement system is what I call the energy extraction matrix, and it is predicated on submission rather than sovereignty. The energy extraction matrix is a system based on inverting unity consciousness into duality, from wholeness into separation, from abundance into scarcity. And a prime example of that is embodied within the archetypes of heaven and hell. These archetypes represent the focus on a single polarity at vibratory levels above and below the innate range of our experience, which limits free will, leading to fragmentation and submission rather than wholeness. I'm not saying heaven and hell are literal places. These are overarching embodiments of the dualistic good-bad paradigm which has kept us in a polarized loop. Heaven becomes a place of judgment and rigid dogmatic belief, a construct that is void of original creative thought, because one must bend themselves in the direction of everything that is deemed righteous and correct. And hell often becomes the repository of everything that is suppressed by a humanity operating at a tiny fraction of its true potential. It's where we go to be ashamed and punished. So with heaven we have judgment, and with hell we have punishment, and they end up being the same thing. This is a reflection of the absurdity of dualism. Both sides of the coin are coming from the same place of separating oneself from a unified perspective. There are multidimensional entities here who have become so far removed from the nourishing breath of spirit that they have no other option but to be energy vampires, and therefore use the energy extraction system in order to parasite. They attempt to keep humanity in extreme emotional states and reaction-based thinking, because the submission to these states further chains us to the lower chakras, and if one is operating too much in them, the inability to access the fullness of their heart will bleed out into reality and further the extraction. But because they know this realm and its happenings are based in consent, there must be consistent attempts to fracture ourselves through the willingness of a population to buy into the system through the inversions I'm about to share. These entities at a quantum level are truly shadow projections of the collective unconscious. Knowing that they are really us is an important step in the process of collective healing, for as long as we feel that our environment is separate from us, we will remain enslaved in the energy extraction matrix. Many of us have woken up and realized that we live in an upside-down world, but This inversion is simply because the inner dualism has manifested into the opposite of what a love-based sovereign consciousness creates. The first inversion is hierarchy, the opposite of equality. In hierarchies, power, energy, and resources are concentrated in the hands of a few. This control leads to rigid dogmatic systems of thought and bureaucracy to maintain the hierarchies. Over time, hierarchies give way to corruption, greed, and unsustainability as the fear-based consciousness sustaining those hierarchies leads to the fear of scarcity. In simple terms, those at the top are always worried about relinquishing power, and those at the bottom are always worried about those at the top and how they affect the entire pyramid. In the new earth, systems need to be consciously created so they can always trend towards equality, which ensures the natural self-perpetuating flow of energy. Otherwise, they invariably trend towards hierarchy and thus stagnation of consciousness. Equality, however, has been sold to us as having the same opportunities and outcomes within a hierarchical system. What we've been told about equality, it's not true equality. True equality is when all beings in a society realize sovereignty and work together to form systems which are healing and sustainable. But this doesn't mean everybody does the same things, or even exerts the same amount of effort. Nothing is mandated in a system of true equality, because all persons use their unique talents and capabilities to create what they desire in a community. The second inversion is judgment, the opposite of acceptance. And like we said earlier, this goes hand in hand with the inversion of punishment, the opposite of healing. Judgment seeks to employ punishment on a society by maintaining a standard of behavior. This could be personal or collective judgment of others, a parent punishing a child for expressing themselves, or judgment imposed by a system of laws. Ultimately, they're all the same thing. Judgment defiles another person or group by ignoring their inner gifts, life history, and traumas. Judgment is a product of dualism, for it creates a caricatured image of that which is being judged. And the punishment imposed from that judgment ultimately creates a society which feels repressed and misunderstood. Rather than imposing judgment, we can send loving healing intentions to everyone. Acceptance is when we realize the inner truth that everyone carries, regardless of their prior actions or lifestyle. If the primary objective is to always try and maintain the most balanced level of consciousness in order to heal ourselves and others, then we can take the fragmented parts of ourselves and collectively transmute them into something beautiful. We need not judge them. We can accept all we are. The third inversion is resistance, the opposite of connection. We are constantly sold the idea that meaningful change can only be created through active resistance. And this is apparent when we look at the media's obsession with documenting and orchestrating protests and social media campaigns, which go against a specific ideology, person, political group, or perceived wrong in society. Many of us in the process of awakening turn to rage when we realize the falsity of the energy extraction system. But this rage is energetic food. It only serves to reinforce the polarity and maintain the very energetic structures we're fighting against. We must not be consumed with what's immediately in front of us, for this illusion is malleable. When we think in terms of a holographic reality, one which bends according to the improvement of our emotional and spiritual connection, we realize there is nothing to fight against. Collective liberation is realized through liberating oneself, and it starts with getting rid of the resistance mentality. This happens through the understanding of one's microcosmic effect on the macrocosmic whole, connection. The fourth inversion is indoctrination, the opposite of wisdom. From an early age, children in the energy extraction matrix are indoctrinated through schooling. If you think about it, it's insane to keep a child inside, away from the natural gifts of this realm, the sun, the grass, the dirt, the trees, the animals. Instead of connecting with the abundant energies around, children devolve from automatically curious and expressive beings into sitting face down, staring at a textbook on a desk. The goal of indoctrination is to stifle creativity and thus meaningful change. We're given lies about history, our earth, health, what it means to be human. We're given a one-dimensional view of the world that holds no magic in it at all. This shuts off our intuition, something during the awakening process we have to relearn to listen to. The idea that one must take a child and form them through rigid subjects and studying is one based in scarcity, saying, if this child does not go through indoctrination, he or she will be less than capable of living a good life. And as we know, this, quote, good life is an existence intertwined within the energy extraction system. Instead of indoctrination, let's impart wisdom within our children. It is the duty of grown-ups to teach children what is valuable: emotional connection, creativity, listening to one's heart, being a force of expansion, having courage, being a reliable friend and lover. These are just as important as learning how numbers correspond to each other, or what happened in the past. In the new earth, we will discard the falsities of the education system, retain what is valuable, and merge it with experience, intuitive knowledge, and the desires of a child and how they want to organize their time. The fifth inversion is money, the opposite of gifting. Money goes hand in hand with debt, which goes hand in hand with scarcity. Most of all, money has perpetuated the cycle of materialism and fear consciousness within the collective. People structure their lives for money, and in turn, they become pawns for further energy extraction, ignoring their divinity and inner truth for dollar signs. We should be searching for the seeds of expansion all around us, for connectivity, but while we're in the rat race for money, it's impossible to fully find collective wholeness. Instead of realizing the inherent value and sacredness of everything around us, industries box up and sell resources for money. Instead of working with our environment, we toil against it in order to further achieve monetary gain. It's a self-perpetuating system of insanity. And then, instead of developing an intimate connection with the things in our lives, we simply become consumers of goods which quickly expire. In a system based in money, scarcity is felt widespread, and this perpetuates crime. Crime is only the result of a society that feels they are not being taken care of. Money creates feelings of scarcity, which creates trauma, and this in turn instills people with the willingness to steal from each other, to hurt each other, all in the name of money. It seems like a huge hurdle to get over, but with focused intention, it's possible to shift our attitudes and actions to create a gift-based economy. We can come together in sustainable communities in which resources are shared and exchanged, not because there's a hierarchy demanding that happens, not because we feel forced to do so, but because we recognize the abundance in sharing. Instead of outsourcing the production of our food, clothing, shelter, etc., we can use our time, minds, and energy to learn the essence of fabric making, of sustainable agriculture, and overall using our surroundings in a meaningful way without exploitation. Greed is so prevalent because, again, money leads to the idea of scarcity. It tells us that we must grab what we can while it's there, for our lives depend on these pieces of paper or electronic numbers. So the biggest hurdle people have in leaving the system is the fear of being penniless. Strength in numbers is so true in the context of shifting to a gift-based society. It cannot happen overnight, but with enough minds coming together, and it's already started happening around the world through eco-villages and the advent of the internet, we can let money expire, preventing the pooling of energy and thus providing abundance for everyone. So, the energy extraction matrix has taught us exactly what happens when we stray away from our divine wholeness. It is the opposite blueprint for the New Earth communities. So simply by inverting the already inverted system within our minds and hearts, we become that much closer to achieving widespread liberation. Keep up the great work, everyone. I am Hermes, messenger of the gods, at your service.